Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Times Now, and I'm Meghna Deka. Our focus continues to be how the Middle East and the Gulf nations are on fire, as they have all been singed by a war between three main combatants, but the flames have been singeing all the other neighboring states as well. More breaking news which is coming in regarding this one coming in from Iran, which has strongly condemned the United States after an alleged attack on an Iranian naval vessel in the Indian Ocean. In fact, Iran's foreign minister Sayed Abbas Araghchi has said that the US has carried out what he described as an atrocity at sea, nearly 2,000 miles away from Iran's shores. Well, in a post on social media, Araghchi has claimed that the Iranian frigate Dena, which he said has been a guest of the Indian Navy, was struck in international waters without any warning, while carrying around 130 sailors. Issuing a strong warning, the Iranian foreign minister has said that the United States would bitterly regret the precedent that it has set, signaling rising tension following the incident in the Indian Ocean. Well, in fact, let me go across to our panelists. Today, joining us on the show, we have Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, former GOC of Chinar Corps. Also joining us, Dr. Doron Avital, the former commander of Israel's elite special forces. In fact, he was also the former member of the Knesset as well as Foreign and Security Committee. Ambassador Jeffrey Gunter also joins us, former US diplomat. Let me go across to Dr. Gunter first. Dr. Gunter, how do you make of this latest threat which is coming in from Iran? Iran is saying that by having done this act of torpedoing one of the Iranian ships 2,000 miles away without any warning is a violation of international laws, and America will pay for it.
Give me a break is my answer. At this point, Iran has been so dramatically degraded. Look at from the top down. They've lost their top leadership. 20 of their ships are already at the bottom of the sea. Their air force has been decimated. The number of drones is down by about 80%. The number of missiles are down by 80%. So this is a country of all bark at this point and no bite. They're at war. This is a country that's killed innocent civilians, women and children, slaughtering their own people to the tune of 20 and 30,000. And they're saying two countries at war cannot sink a ship. It's the first ship that's been sunk since World War II with the torpedo. So look at the regime has proven itself to be incompetent, on its way out. It's probably teetering on the brink of collapse. There's plenty of reports where many of the Revolutionary Guard and those individuals are already looking for ways out of the country. So I think they're on the way out.
But Dr. Gunter, my question to you was slightly different. Were international laws of warfare flouted by America?
Not at all. These two countries are at war. It was a military target. It was the right thing to do. You know, by taking down the Soleimani, you heard that from the White House. The president has taken out Soleimani twice. Once when I was a U.S. ambassador, and now again he took out a Soleimani. So this is a terrorist regime, and they have to be dealt with very severely.
Okay, in that case, let me go across to General Dhillon, because questions have been raised. After all, this very ship was in Visakhapatnam. It was on its way back after having joint naval exercises with the Indian Navy, a guest of the Indian Navy. Should that have a bearing on the way that U.S. torpedoed the warship?
Good morning, ma'am, and good morning to all the fellow panelists and our viewers. Once the ship was part of an armada which was taking part in an international naval exercise on Indian coast under Indian Navy's overall control. Yes, it was the responsibility of India as a host and to make sure every ship in that exercise is safe. But once the ship has finished this exercise and has left the Indian port and has gone into international waters, and the ship did not request for an escort, keeping in mind the situation of the war situation, and the ship is out of India's territorial waters as also India's EEZ. Ship, when it was hit, was 40 miles off the port of Gal, that is beyond the territorial water of Sri Lanka into the EEZ of Sri Lanka and about 230 miles off the nearest land coast of India, way beyond our territorial waters. The ship was in international waters, and as per the UNCLOS UNCLOS, anything in the international water is legally okay. Having said that, but sinking a ship so close to Sri Lankan waters, and then as per the Geneva Convention, not coming to the rescue of the besieged, the sailors on board who are wounded or injured or whatever, that is something which is against the treaty or which is against the convention. Sinking a ship in the international waters when the war is going on is fair.
It's fair.
But not coming to the rescue of the besieged is not fair.
And also without a warning, Dr. General Dillo, without a warning that the torpedo was fired?
Giving a warning or not giving a warning is a drill which any Navy can say. But once you're in war and you have made up a mind to sink a ship. But one point I want to correct here, the Dr. Kantor, which he says is the first torpedo hit since Second World War. During the Falklands War, there are many occasions, I think 3 or 4 of them, but one which comes to mind straight away is during the Falklands War, Her Majesty's submarine ship Conqueror, HMSS Conqueror, had downed Argentinian ship General Belgrano. So it's not the first time that a submarine torpedo has downed a naval ship or the warship. Since World War II, it has happened earlier.
It's happened earlier as well, but then General Dillo has explained to us what really is a violation of the law and what isn't. But let me also show you what exactly it is that the Foreign Minister of Iran has said. Now, this is the post that he has put out with the picture of the ship, saying that the US has perpetrated an atrocity at sea 2,000 miles away from Iran. Shows the frigate Dena, a guest of Indian Navy carrying almost 130 sailors, was struck in international waters without any warning. Mark my words, the US will come to bitterly regret the precedent that it has set. The precedent that it has set. However, General Dillo explains to us that it also is important for us to point out that there is nothing wrong when there is a war to shoot down a warship. All is fair. However, not to come to their rescue may be a violation of the convention. Meanwhile, let's tell you, Day 6 of the Middle East war, and the conflict appears to be edging closer to India. The spotlight is now on the Iranian ship that we've been discussing, Dena. Of course, it had recently participated at the International Fleet Review 2026, which was right here in Visakhapatnam. On its way back is when it was hit by the US submarine. The vessel was listed amongst one of the participating ships in a naval exercise in the Bay of Bengal, which was carried out between February 18th to 25th, and it was struck and sunk by a US submarine, and it has been confirmed as well by the Secretary of War of US. This on its way back. At least 87 people are reported to have been killed in this incident. On 17th of February, the Eastern Naval Command of the Indian Navy had in fact even posted on social media. It had welcomed Dena to Visakhapatnam, saying that the visit reflected the long-standing cultural links between India and Iran. US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had confirmed this attack. Listen in to what he had said.
An American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win. Also, yesterday, the leader of the unit who attempted to assassinate President Trump has been hunted down and killed. Iran tried to kill President Trump, and President Trump got the last laugh.
Let me go across to Dr. Avital. Dr. Avital, how do you read what is happening right now? Because unfortunately, at the end of it, the rest of the world is bracing itself because there are allegations that international laws, norms of warfare itself are being flouted in this war. And the effects of it, considering India is a friendly nation, that this would happen so close to India with a warship which was invited by India.
Well, I'm a veteran of special forces, so and I'm not that expert of the naval rules of conduct in war, so I would be very hesitant in terms of commenting on this issue. One thing for sure, we are at war, and when you switch from peace to war, the rules change, and we have to abide by the rules of the war. And of course, there's conduct also in war. There's code, and if the rescue was part of the code, then this should have been followed. I'm not that familiar, but we're at war, and those are legitimate targets of each Navy, Army, Air Force.
Let me ask you this thing. Are there still friends and allies at war? Does that continue?
Yeah.
The long-standing friendships?
I think friendship at war, I mean, there's alliance coalitions, and I think right now we see a coalition in which, led by the U.S., Israel participating in a coalition with the U.S. and with some of the British or European in some capacity participation in a war against a regime that is responsible for a series of atrocity all through the years. I want to add another thing which is important, and this is the gap, the huge gap between the rhetoric of the Iranian regime in terms of its capacities and what it can show at the battlefield. And I think when a state like Iran project an image of strength, technology, which doesn't have any hold in reality, this is also an indication for the people of Iran to see that this huge gap. I think the gap in terms of technology, superiority of the coalition that fights Iran is huge, and shows that Iran doesn't have the cards it has in its hands, and therefore it has to rethink its course of action. And this rhetoric, we're going to retaliate, I don't think it has enough muscles behind it.
But will the course that we are looking at, will it be built on dialogue? Well, unfortunately, it doesn't look like any side is blinking right now. Meanwhile, there's more breaking news which is coming in. As per sources from the war zone, 3 Indian nationals are also killed. One Indian national is critical, and he is currently on ventilator. 20 to 25 Indians have been injured. In fact, 3 Indians are dead, is what we are picking up. 2 of them from Skylight, 1 from MVD. In fact, all of them are Iranian strike casualties which have been reported so far. Top sources are telling us that war, of course, has spilled into India because there are casualties of Indians which are also now coming in. 3 Indians have been killed in Iranian strikes is what we do know. Another Indian is critical, is on ventilator. About 20 to 25 Indians have been injured is what we are picking up. As we were discussing, a war, really, the theater of war is something which has been expanding day after day. Today is the day 6th, and the theater of war, unfortunately, has been expanding. Let me go across to Rishabh. Rishabh, yes, India is not a direct combatant in this war. However, the flames of war have reached India. Can you tell us about the casualties which have been reported from those who are of Indian descent and who are Indian passport holders, which are now being reported?
Well, Meghna, if we talk about Indian casualties in this, ongoing conflict in West Asia, as per official sources, 3 Indian sailors have been killed. 1 on MVD Vyom and 2 on Skylight. These are the 2 tankers that were and ships that were moving in the conflict area, and they were hit by IRGC, is what we are given to understand. 1, the Skylight was hit off Oman coast, while MVD Vyom was hit in the Gulf of Hormuz. And what we are given to understand that there were Indians, there were also, other nationalities, including Bangladeshi as well as Iranian on that ship that was crossing. The IRGC say that they did not listen to the warnings that came in from IRGC ship that was patrolling in that area, and that's why they were targeted. But now what we can confirm to our viewers using the official sources that 3 Indians, 2 on Skylight and 1 on MVD Vyom, has been killed.
3 Indians, one of them is critical on ventilator as well. 3 Indians have been killed. 20 to 25 Indians have been injured so far. Let me go across to Dr. Gunter, who's joining us. This is the price of war. Unfortunately, it's not our war, but it does seem that it's inching closer to Indian shores, if we can call it that. The way forward from here, is there a lot of resentment within your own nation, it appears, about the war? Popularity ratings have been dropping. Yes, President Trump has said that he'll give the war and your forces 15 out of 10. However, we know what has happened in Senates with former Marines also now protesting openly.
Push back on that characterization. There's great support for President Trump. The American people understand that basically the Iranians have been at war with us for the last almost 40 years. They attacked us in Beirut. They invaded our embassy back in 1979. They've terrorized the world, and there's great support. And let's face it, if people are concerned...
Popularity polls are not really showing this great support because his popularity, especially for the war, is as high as disapproval rating at close to 60%.
You know, you and I both know that polls can go many ways. Remember, we've been listening to the fake news media here in America for years and years and years. People are actually in America who are rooting against our success. And here's the irony of the whole thing. You see these images of women in the United States protesting the war, but then you see women in the streets of Iran celebrating it. So that should actually tell you everything.
So these are interesting narratives which are coming in from all the sides. At the end of it, it is a battle of narratives as well. Who's winning that? Thank you so much, General Dhillon, Dr. Avital, as well as Dr. Gunter, for joining us here on the show.